Greetings everyone, this is Fernando from Moonspell and you're watching Impact Channel. Rock on!
Hey guys, we are here with Fernando from Moonspell. Greetings.
Greetings, nice to meet you.
And congratulations on your new album, Instinct. What are the reactions so far for the new album?
Well, I think the reactions are very good. You know, you never know a band with so many albums and so many different musical perspectives, worked under each album. We never know what to count when it comes to response. But this always being very consensual because I don't know why, but people understood that it's an album that is truly about an emotional period of our lives. Mixed with a lot of other greater stuff as well, musically, and the theory of extinction, not a theory, but, scientific fact, and unfortunately scientific fact, it all built up into an album that people found it very solid, with songs that were not afraid of being fragile or beautiful. And for some of the fans, it was even a nice return to albums that have a more melodic approach, like Religious or Darkness and Hope. So, we were very happy with the result of Extinct, and we're happy that people, majority of our fans and even our newer fans were very much into the album.
Mm-hmm. You more or less got to the next question. I was going to ask you about how do you challenge yourself as an artist, as a songwriter, let's say?
Well, I think it has to do with the period that we showed up as a band. We showed up in the 90s, where metal, especially European metal, was very much going under a small underground revolution. There was a lot of people fusing styles of music, folk and metal, gothic and metal. And I think that the way that we grew, motivated and also surrounded by all that creativity in metal was very different from what people do today. They stick more to a formula. While in the 90s, the secret was not to have a formula, to have an open mind. So I think that quite affects us as composers, and I think it comes in our help, not to close our horizons so much that we can still sound like Moonspell, but gone in other ways. And I think our discography proves that. It's not the easiest ride for the band or for the fans even, but I think it's what keeps us alive. In a way, it's to have also the people always can a little bit don't really know what's coming next, and I think that's for us that's good.
Mm-hmm. And what does art mean to you?
Well, a lot of stuff. Obviously, it's a big question. I think that being artistic, it's almost doesn't have only to do with the skill, but much more, from my experience, with the state of mind. Because I'm not one of those natural talented people to do something artistic. I just tried stuff and was possessed by the will of being different, being on the artistic side. I read a lot, I watched a lot of other people playing and singing, and then I started doing it myself. And it's a side, obviously, that grew with me, and it's a side that I needed, and means a lot to me. Not in that arrogant way of I am an artist, so get the fuck out of my way. And but I think being an artist is, like I said, a state of mind, questioning stuff, and also challenging yourself. In a way, it's what separates an artist from a businessman. It's you do not calculate the risk when you are an artist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you had a chance to record a solo record or something, what would it be like?
It will be very different from Moonspell. We will have no electricity. I think I'll never do that, honestly. Without Moonspell, I think I don't have a meaning as a singer. But hypothetically, if I did that, it will be a thing very oriented to the likes of Nick Cave, Leonard Cohen, just deep vocals, dark lyrics, and just some small instruments like small drums, some guitar, some strings. Definitely, this kind of record, I would love to try it out. But maybe it's a good thing to do. When I'm older and Moonspell doesn't have the energy to go on anymore, maybe I'll pursue that path, that kind of dark music, like more poetic in a way. Yeah.
As far as I know, you have released 3 poetry books and 1 short novel book. Have you thought about, continuing it?
Yeah, I just got my last poetry book, which was an anthology from the 3 poetry books I printed in Portugal. The first was 2001, and then the last one was 2007, and then I never wrote anything else except Moonspell lyrics and some contributions for magazines or some other minor stuff. In the end of the day, when my poetry book got released in Brazil, and I was touring there with Moonspell, but also I was touring all the libraries and the bookshops, so it was a very intense period. It kind of motivated me to translate it into English, because when I have my poetry translated into English, everybody speaks English in the world. We're speaking English, even though we're not English. Will allow people to pick the poems, understand them, and also to translate them even further. So it's not that I'm considering a career as a writer, but yeah, it's something that I have to do. So on this tour that is a month long, there'll be a lot of time to kill, so I'm killing my time not playing football on the PlayStation. I suck anyway, the other guys are much better. But definitely translating my own poetry into English, because that's something I need to do, because every time I wrote poetry, the book sold out and everybody was interested, so that's a quite big compliment for me. Yeah.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Since the early years, you have using plenty of symbols in the artwork. Which symbols are the most important for you on a personal level?
Well, I mean, symbols are what you put on them. I always found symbols more as empty vessels or marks that you kind of fill up with your personality. Of course, I mean, for instance, a pentagram might mean a lot of stuff to a lot of people, but for me, it represents the man being not in the center of the universe anymore, or not the human characteristics, but something else, way more evil, like greed and politics and religious disputes. So yeah, I think I'm quite into symbols, of course, because they are used since timeless ages as a form of express ourselves, and I really like to follow up the story of symbols, because sometimes words are powerful and sometimes words are too much, but whenever you see something graphically represented, you wonder also about the creative side of man, for the good, for the bad as well. And I think symbols help everyone to tell that story, and they are very important for Moonspell. We always try to have visually also the story of our album expanded into more of a visual form. That's why we take so much care of the artwork. Sometimes it's polemic, sometimes it's not, but it's what represents the visual part of the albums as well.
If you could summon a historical person or a mythological creature for a chat, who would you pick and why?
I think a mythological creature or some dead person.
Any kind of person.
Any kind of person. There's a lot of dead people I appreciate. I think I'll summon up Oscar Wilde. I think he will be not only to piss him off with fan talk or whatever, but to go out at night, like in Lisbon, for instance, or here in Budapest, night out with Oscar Wilde. I think that will be definitely great fun, because I think he was an amazing writer, great personality, big influence of me and from Moonspell lyrics, but he also had this rock star, ahead of his time, kind of behavior. So I think he would like to be with us on tour and to just party and talk about literature and write a little bit. I think we'll have a great time. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. If you had the chance to go for a time travel, where and when would you like to go?
Well, I always think about this, but then I never find a right time to go, because my one of my biggest obsessions even, it's not the past, but it's the future. So I would like to make the travel into the future, like in a more post-apocalyptic, to see how man would survive, how nature will take over. That's the kind of scenarios I imagine myself traveling into a future after some great disaster or cataclysm, because I'm very curious. I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime. I'm very curious, and I read a lot about it, and we wrote a lot of songs about it, about what comes after us. As far as the past goes, I would like, to go back, for instance, to the navigation period when the Portuguese were a leading industry and also a leading, example for traveling and discovering things all around the world. Brazil, the sea route to India. So I think it was a great time for Portugal and a great time for being a Portuguese, not anymore. That has passed, unfortunately. But I think it was, a time of a lot of the old myths, the old superstition myths coming down as well. I think it was a time of discoveries, as people call it. Yeah.
Talking about your ancestors, the Lusitanian heritage was always highlighted in the band's career. What do you think? What can we learn from your ancestors in the present days?
Oh, we have a lot to learn from our ancestors, especially people that are nowadays in power. In Portugal, they should definitely take a look of our history and take a look of how Portugal, even besides the fact it's an isolated small country in Southern Europe, could be a much better country than what we've become. So I think there was a lot of courageous people in the past, people that were polemic, people that were attacked by their views, but in the end of the day they were right. There was a lot of visionaries now in Portugal, and what we see in Portugal nowadays is the mediocre taking power, being prime minister, being president, taking in charge. Our best scientists go and study abroad, our best musicians have to go abroad to do something. So it's I think we should rewrite the history since the 18th, 19th century to see if we could do better and not do so many mistakes.
And do you think the kids learn enough about those times in the school?
I don't know anymore. I don't know what the kids learn. I have a kid, but he's just 3 years old, so he's not learning. He's just playing now, discovering stuff. So I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, when I was a student at the high school and then at the university, a lot of changes started happening in our educational system, and I never saw the reason why. Because I think that we had something solid since the 70s that was based on merit and not on numbers, on statistics, and that was a good way of studying. The people that went into university were the people that worked the hardest on those 3 years pre going to university. Now everything is very confused. Even the subject matter that people, that kids learn, sometimes they learn a lot of useless stuff as well. But there's also an incentive to read. There's a national plan for them to reading. People pick up a lot of books, and what they learn in history normally, we learn a lot about our early period as a country, and then the discoveries, the navigation time. But in the year, you never can get to the contemporary history, and I think that contemporary history is what the kids will learn to. We need to learn as much as they can, to make up their minds as citizens as well.
By the way, do you have a favorite Lusitanian god?
Well, we don't have a lot, The thing is that the Lusitanian, pagan time was very short in Portugal. It was not like here, because the meaning of Portugal, or the construction of Portugal, was already something Christian. It was against the Muslims that occupied Spain and Portugal back at the time. So we were talking about pagan civilization, or mini civilization, that was just existing for a couple of centuries at most, and that they were very influenced by the Celtic bears and by the Celts and by the Romans as well. So we ended up with a lot of references that are borrowed from other countries. But there's the existence of a Lusitanian tribe, and there's a lot of, there's history versus myth. And I think that those two goddesses we did songs about, Trebaruna and Ataegina, because then there was the Endovelicus god. There was a lot, it was a big pantheon of gods. But I always like to sing about the female goddesses. I think they are, men are boring even as gods. And I think the fact that they have this duality, the love and the war, the celebration of the crops, and not just the destructive power of war or power by overpower. I think those made more interesting songs. Yeah.
And as a father, what values you want to pass to your child?
Well, basically, I'm concerned in having fun with him. You know, he's growing, showing him stuff, and trying as much as possible to stand out of his way so he can make his choices. It's very hard for the father because you always want to influence him. But he's a very vivid kid, he's a very smart kid, so he lives right into the atmosphere. So I'm a big Marvel comic fan. Since I was his age, you know, Spider-Man, Hulk, Avengers, I love all that stuff. And he went to my study and saw all the toys there, and he grew a liking of it. So now he's totally an Avengers fan, and we fight, with the mask. So I'm very happy for it. But I think being himself, it's what I want to pass to him. No pressure, My wife, she's a singer in a pop band as well in Portugal, so we don't have him to have a pressure to be a musician or a singer or this or that. Just it's like a little bit go with the flow. It's not. Of course, I'll teach him values, of course, and those are implanted right now. Not to lie, not to be sneaky. The usual basic stuff. But then with the complex stuff comes after. And I think as a father, I always let him experiment to a point he doesn't get hurt a lot. Sometimes he gets hurt a bit because he's a boy, so he needs to, if I say don't climb that wall, he will climb that wall, he will fall, and then I'll tell him I told you not to climb that wall, and then he learns. Next time probably doesn't climb the wall, probably does. It's not exact science at all being a father, just go day by day.
And are you worried about this mass migration we have in Europe at the moment?
Well, there's a lot of ways of looking into it, and obviously people that, for instance, right in Hungary, that live the problem closer than Portugal, might have a different opinion. But I think that I thought a lot about it, and obviously I think this is a very exceptional crisis, and I think that something like warlike state emergency should be action. So that Europe, and not only the countries that are near the conflict, could, in a structured way, in a human way, try two things: to welcome people that are truly refugees, that have nowhere else to go, while trying also to fix the problem in Syria, because all these interventions, it just created a bigger problem, and it was a problem that was local, and now it's spread all over. I think, Europe has to be patient in a way. That's what I think. And probably sometimes we have to give a little bit of our room into other people, but we never lived war. Our parents and our grandparents probably are more used to this. So for us, it's a novelty because we live in the comfort of, having stuff and going to shows and, But this is our reality, and believe me, sometimes it's very hard for us to see that these people have nothing at all. I met a lot of Syrian fans around the world, and their story is quite gruesome. Imagine you live in a place and you like that place. They don't want to leave their country, and then you have to live somewhere else because someone fucked up with politics and war and wanted to experiment something that doesn't work there.
What do you think about the European Union, and where do you see Portugal's position in this alliance?
Well, we are a small country, have no power. We have no power of decision. We want to look good to Europe. But, Europe, the European Union was something very hard to achieve, and now we see it's cracking everywhere. Because one thing, it's the opportunity for underdeveloped countries like Portugal 10 or 20 years ago to get a lot of money and to build roads, etc. But we didn't take good advantage of that money. Of course, we have roads. That's what we have, and we paid for them very much still to the day. We pay for every time we cross a road. We have a peage in Portugal, no exception. But there was a lot of other stuff that had to be done with these funds. There wasn't, everything was for corruption and fucking politics and banks and, the usual gang. So it's when the magic is over, then European Union is not a good thing anymore. You know, obviously these things I'm all in favor of having just one currency. It's great, especially for people that travel like me, you know, but having no borders, it's great as well. But in the world that everybody's suspicious about each other, there's only two ways to make it really an unified Europe, you know, and taking care of the problems as one, or everybody goes their own way, like in the past. You know, there was still a Europe, you know, there wasn't a union, but there was still a continent. To stay in the middle, for me, it's weird, you know, and that's exactly where European community is, like between a yes or no, you know, and you can't be there.
Back to the music, you formed this project, it's called Daemonarch, in the late 90s with some of the Moonspell members. Do you plan to continue this project in the future?
Well, actually I never thought about it, but a lot of people keep on asking. I think it was an album that we did with the context at the time. We never ever dreamt that it could have such an impact. Not only the Moonspell fans, but on the black metal scene. But I mean, Moonspell is so overtaking us with so many albums, so many tours, that even if we wanted to, we would have no time or energy to go and pick up Daemonarch. Maybe it evolves to other kind of music, more ambient music, more my own project, dark and occult. But I don't see like making a record like Hermeticum or a second part of it. But you know, also music, it's like saying never. It's something that probably you just say it, you know, out of your head, and it doesn't mean a never. But with Daemonarch, it's not, you know, we're not doing anything about it right now.
Moonspell has inspired plenty of bands worldwide. Who would you like to hear on a Moonspell tribute album?
I don't know. I mean, we never. Sometimes I'm surprised, you know, because we're coming from Portugal, and sometimes people say, "Oh, have you listened to this and the other band doing a tribute and doing a cover version?" We never expected this to happen, and we don't really know what bands we influenced or not. You know, it's hard to tell. But I mean, if there was a tribute, if I could pick up a band, definitely not a band that was influenced by us, but a band that I really like, maybe Satyricon, to do Alma Mater. That'll be definitely awesome, more black metal, colder. I think that will be good, and they could do the Portuguese part in Norwegian.
Or Flash God Apocalypse?
Yeah, that's a great band as well. They're crazy, it's very fast, very symphonic. I don't know if they even listen to Moonspell or if it has anything, but I know of that band, the Italian band, great band, yeah.
And what would be the perfect venue to perform with Moonspell, like Fortress or Planetarium or something?
Well, both will be cool, but I always have this dream of, there's this place in Lisbon, which is, Lisbon had a big earthquake on the 18th century, and some places were totally destroyed. But some other places, they kept the ruins. So there is these ruins in Portugal, in Lisbon, called the Carmo ruins. And they are the perfect spot for a Moonspell show, but they are so fragile that we probably cannot set up a PA over there and play it loud. But that will be my dream thing, or stuff like you know, old ancient Roman arena. Like there was a spectacular one in Greece, not in Greece, sorry, in Spain, in Merida. So I see myself on these cool historical places mostly. Yeah.
What do you feel when you're performing on stage?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I try to disconnect from reality the more because I think music is a kind of fantasy, definitely. And I feel very good. I feel very in touch with myself, with other musicians, with the crowd. You know, it's a good flowing of energy. It's why you do the songs, also to be able to perform them live and to bring back that energy from the record into a more, you know, personal relationship that people have being, you know, watching live music. So I feel at my best when I'm playing. Yeah, it's the thing I mostly enjoy doing. You know, after playing with my kid and being at home, yeah, definitely playing live. It's something overwhelming, definitely.
Last few questions. Please name your 5 favorite albums of all time.
Well, of all time, I'll say Bathory, Blood, Fire, Death. That's one of my favorite albums. Typo Negative, October Rust, So that's 2. Let's see, King Diamond, Abigail. Some of my favorite albums. I listen to it a lot. Candlemass, Epicos, Domicos, Metallicos. And last album, I will say Tiamat's Wild Honey. It's a great album as well.
What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life? That's a good question. Maybe life has no meaning. that's the thing.
Future is dark, you said?
Yeah, I know, but I also say without you there's no tomorrow. I think the meaning of life, it's not knowing things so deeply as you want. You know, it's the meaning of life, for me at least, it's the still searching for something, you know. And eventually, I'm 41 now, so I found out things that I never thought I would find out when I was 20. And also, on the other hand, you know, I don't have stuff that I have when I was 20, you know, energy, power, youth, beauty, money. No, the thing is that I think that's, in my opinion, the true meaning of life, being never happy. I wouldn't say unhappy, but being never happy. I think man is definitely being always in motion, you know, in direction to somewhere. We'll never stop. That's my life. I mean, today I'm in Budapest, tomorrow I'm in Austria. At the end of the year I'm in Jamaica, you know. So I think that's you know, the keep on running thing. It's very important for a musician. That's the meaning of our life. You know, nothing is ever over, in a way.
Do you have any message to your fans?
No. Okay. No, I'd like to thank you for the interview, and it's great to be back finally in Hungary. I think it's been a while since we've been here. I think last time was at the Pheasant Festival, if I don't remember well. I don't know, many shows. So I hope they're here today and that they come to celebrate with us. There's many things to celebrate, the new album, the 20 years of Wolf Art as well, and in general our return finally to Budapest. And I hope it doesn't cross that many years under the bridge again before coming here soon, or coming on a festival, and stay strong and don't get extinct like we trying it as well, and it's hard.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.